Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 3 of Open Wheel for Amateurs 2023 Season 3 here at the Temple of Speed, Monza Circuit, the Italian Grand Prix, brought to you by Ninja Botanicals and AlienWards.net. We've got one of the fastest set of races you'll see around this 5.8 kilometer circuit with a 27-lap feature, followed by a 19-lap sprint for reduced points. Last race was a masterclass recovery drive, with Nicholas Paletti winning both races at the Red Bull Ring, while Zach Nuremberg scored the most points for the B class and nearly repeated his overall sprint race victory after the overall win in the Silverstone Sprint in the final corner of the race. No surprise, but both those drivers come into this race as their respective group leaders and the overall 1-2. My regular co-host Aaron Claybaugh is a bit occupied right now. He's in the hospital with his wife who's giving birth to his new son, so congratulations to Aaron. But for tonight at least, I'm joined from the endurance side by Paul Skip. Paul, you've had some mixed results of this track in the past, but with a high point of a second place in the GTE class in your championship season at the beginning of 2022. What is it about this track that seems to cause some generally mixed up results?
Well, I think here at Monza, the track is a really devious nature. There are a lot of fast corners here that are deceptively fast, and if you're not going fast enough, you're not going to be up front at Monza. The real trick here is to maintain all your control of the car and the tires contact with everything the whole way around here. And at these speeds, it can wear on you. It can really, wear you down as a driver and force you to make mistakes. So here, being fast and mistake free is key.
Not only that, but you also have to add, of course, onto the safety points where, you'll famous, of course, this track for some chaos. So has that opportunity of potentially some collisions, but also there's a few spots in this track that have a bit of an annoying track limits problem. The Lesmo 2 is one specifically I can think of that's always given me a headache. The Ascari chicane, among some others. So drivers are going to have to try to keep it in track to earn as many bonus points as possible. Few green sectors, but those are all on outlaps. So Nicholas Paletti there, purple sector in the first. There are 5 sectors for this track, so it's going to be pretty difficult to nail them all. Everyone's on the same setup, though, so top speeds, all that kind of downforce, that's all completely equal among these guys, and there will be no advantage that way. But the draft is absolutely going to be crucial during the race, so it's one thing to have a quick qual pace here, but race pace is going to be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and then you got to keep in mind, too, you're going to have to contend with traffic, especially when you get into the Variante chicanes. They could be such tight places to make a good, clean move on a competitor. I think we're in for a real exciting race tonight.
Yeah, if you haven't raced here, first turn, extremely tight. So a very tight chicane after a really long run down to that line, even from a standing start of Redifilo, and then even if you make it through there alive, you come up to another chicane in Roggia, and that continues to potentially cause some problems. Luckily, Lesmo after that, the Lesmos are not really a battling kind of set of corners, should spread the field out a little bit. Currently, Paul Boyle has the fastest time, just ahead of Ken Huber, with just a few other drivers having put in laps so far.
Yeah, we're starting to get those first laps stacked in, and everybody's nice and tight up front within, 0.8 of a second of each other.
Yeah, interestingly, the overall results right now, Nicholas Paletti is ahead by a lot on Zach Nuremberger in second, but second, third, fourth, fifth, and seventh in the overall standings are in the B class. So guys who have not yet qualified in the top 35% still have that opportunity to do so today. It is in the first 3 drivers attended. Dan Real there puts it on pole. But some of the B-class guys showing some really strong race pace, despite maybe not qualifying in that top third.
Well, I think a lot of it, too, is kind of what we see in E4A. You've got some guys, they're just not good qualifying drivers, but they're excellent race drivers. And I think some of that, we could see that here today.
Ken Huber, currently third, was our pole sitter for our event 2 weeks ago, and for the feature, unfortunately had an internet disconnect problem. So, I mean, he was really starting to pull away from the field. There's no knowing how it was going to go for him. There are a couple drop weeks in this championship, so he had an unfortunate Silverstone round, and it looked like it was going to be a really good Red Bull ring, but was undone by some connectivity issues. We'll see if he's able to kind of make up for that today. So far in fourth, just put in another lap time, but the times are all over the place right now. Jeff McDonald now into the top three.
Yep, and Mr. Nick Paletti just took pole with a 1:43.6. What a cooking time.
Yeah, drivers will have 3 laps to put in their fastest. Is not despite being a long track because of the straights, it's not that long of a lap. As you can see there, well under 2 minutes. So with the 27-lap feature, 19-lap sprint, this should be a pretty quick affair. And there's only a couple passing opportunities on this track just because there's not that many corners to pass on.
Yeah, it's all about straightaway speed here. I mean, you got to get the good exits out of what few corners there are and just keep it pinned until the next one.
Dan Real had a couple purple sectors in that lap, but unfortunately not an overall improvement on place, but he is there in fourth. Currently sitting in 8th overall in the championship, but absolutely has that pace to really start rocketing up that field in the coming weeks. Jeff McDonald is our top B-class runner, although, again, if he were to qualify here, he would be promoted. And Richard Curry would as well, so we would have the top 7 with 19 drivers. So both these guys trying to make their way into A-class, and a few guys back there who are not and are looking to be strong B-class contenders for the rest of the season. Kevin Berquist, Zach Nuremberger, and Steven Thompson are second, third, fourth. And Steve Cubey there as well, also fifth. All those guys not currently in those top 7 and are fighting really hard in the overall championship. Richard Curry now up in the third even. Right now we have some green sectors going down. Kevin Berquist puts in an improvement of a time, but I don't think it ups his position. Just a second back. I mean, this is a close field here. 1 second basically separates first through 13th, and then still a couple guys who I think just haven't put in a representative lap so far. Certainly Steven Thompson's one that I would be surprised if he were running at this pace during the race, but it is not an easy track to do. Nuremberger improves his position there to 10th, still not in that top 35%. And at least how it's shaping up is looking like he's going to be our B-class front runner after tonight, because it is just those first 3 races that count for promotion.
Right. After that, everybody gets locked into their class for the remainder of the season. So that's when you'll really start to see the championship shake out for between A and B.
Not a lot of green sectors going down now. And a spin there, actually, while on camera for Richard Curry. Nicholas Paletti coming through here. I don't think that anyone is really on track to be improving their time. Potentially Kevin Berquist there. He's got a couple green sectors. Just made his way through Ascari, so he's through the brunt of the lap. Just has Parabolica to handle with, although that's a little bit easier said than done. It's pretty tough to nail the amount of exit speed on that corner.
Yeah, I was going to say the exit of that corner is really super tricky because you can get out into that green stuff and you think you still have traction, but you don't.
And not only will you lose traction, but you'll also probably be handed an off track for your efforts as well. Kevin Berquist up a few positions there to 13th, continuing that trend of this being an ultra close field right now. But I think that Steve Cubey, wow, jumping up from 12th to 5th on that. That would be putting him into A-class if qualifying ends this way. 3 drivers being promoted. And I don't think that other than Steven Thompson, let's see what time he's able to put in here. I'm not sure anyone else is on a hot lap. Steven Thompson up to 12th place, so an improvement of 3 spots. And with no other hot laps, we'll be back in right just a minute to verify these results and get the A-class all sorted out. All right, we are back. Have those 3 drivers there qualified into their respective classes. So 3 guys up into A class. Anyone else who's been here for all 3 races, that's it for him. Nicholas Paletti puts it on pole yet again. Another pole position for him. Let's see if he's able to turn this into another victory. Waiting for everyone to grid. A couple cars still to join the procedure. Again, there is a red flag rule if there are 3 or more drivers involved in a wreck. I don't want to jinx anything. We've had one in all 4 heats so far. Monza's not the easiest on chaos, but we'll see how this goes. They're about to get the green flag, waiting for the lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Green flag, green flag.
Green light, how'd it go? Great start for Paletti. Oh, and a spin by Jeff McDonald there.
Oh, we
Everyone
had
makes
2
it
spins
through.
in the back.
Nicholas Paletti stays ahead. You can see not fighting anyone behind into turn 1. See, Jeff McDonald has that incident. I don't see anyone else involved in anything so far. A couple. Oh, no, never mind. I see.
Big pile up.
I think that there's going to be a red flag here. Let's wait and see if the drivers slow down. Yep, you can hear. Okay, so we have a lot to look at here. A lot of drivers involved in this. So we have that Jeff McDonald initial incident. Let's take a look at some of what happened back there as we were with our leader. Dan Real's here, one that was involved, going into the inside of Steve Bay in front. Oh,
It really looked
that's
like
a car park.
Yeah, it looked like the rear end just got away from Mr. Real there, and, well, chaos ensued.
Yeah, no, honestly, not too many drivers with a lot of damage. These 2 cars are stuck together. So some damage to these guys here. Everyone else really just kind of had to stop because of the traffic stop. Real just an unfortunate spot to lose control of the car, and really nobody not involved in that, considering that he was up near the front of the field there. Let's see from the perspective of a couple of the drivers involved. Let's see, Tony Watson here off the line. This is what he sees coming into turn 1. It's just, you got to go off track to avoid. So these off tracks will be reduced from the driver's point totals, as it was an incident not caused by them there.
Well, it was fortunate Tony was able to get it woed up in time to, avoid that chaos.
Yeah, we do have the red flag, but it is a little bit funny, of course. This probably be the least chaotic, the least destructive standing start of the season so far. It really just came down to a traffic jam. So drivers going to come in. They'll get a little bit of fuel. It's not going to help them make it to the end, of course. Both races should have a pit stop for fuel. The fuel's dropped a little bit for the sprint, so we shouldn't be seeing the same kind of dramatic ending that we saw in our first 2 races, but we'll have to see. So again, the third thing, nice for Jeff McDonald there, is that this will go back to the order that they started in, and it'll just be a normal safety car, essentially, restart as they come around to the green. So Jeff McDonald spun on race start, but we'll be able to start back up to 6th again. Look at Jeff McDonald's incident also while we were waiting for him to make their way around. Here's what happened to him on the race start. Oh, that was already been happening. This right here. We hit the green. Nicholas Paletti nails the jump off of the line. And just instant spin for McDonald there.
Yep, a little too heavy-footed looked like to me.
But should be a little bit easier to manage this start here, as the drivers will be, and Zach Nuremberger's still there in the pit box. I don't know what's going on there. I wonder if potentially something like a maybe he had a little bit of damage to the car, and he had the fast repair turned off instinctively, and it's doing repairs. I can't really figure out why he's stuck there.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's not like Zach to not get on track. Well, the car's going up now, so maybe they're getting into service.
Yeah, maybe towed. It didn't seem like we didn't see him in the main collision. That was Dan Real and who is up here, and the driver behind, I think, that are potentially ahead. Yes, Chris Newby. Okay, so it was Chris Newby and Dan Real. Those were the two drivers that were locked together in their cars. There's a lot of yellow cars in this championship, and I didn't see Zach Nuremberger part of it, but he may have had a collision that we didn't see. Let's see. Is potentially the incident here? Because he started from the pits, if you remember. He had a...
How weird. He just brought it to a stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's waiting for the traffic up front. But these drivers, he is on the track. He's making his way back out of the field. He will be in last because, again, he did start from the pits in that race because of an incident in the sprint race at Red Bull Ring, trying to not make it 3 for 3 in our next race there. That will be a end-of-line penalty for Dan Real, or a start from the pits for Dan Real next event that he's in. So potentially our next event, which is at Spa, so that'll be a great race. Paletti making his way through the Ascari chicane now, getting ready to lead this field once he gets around to that start-finish line. Fresh restart for these guys. Obviously, Nuremberger down 6, but that's just because he qualified but had to start from the pits regardless. Everyone else back to where they started, and A-class drivers in the top 9.
Boy, they're really fighting to keep the heat in those tires, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of chance to cool down the tires with these long straights in this track, even at race speed. Even through Parabolica, we'll see when he decides to make this go. He can wait. The drivers typically this season so far have waited quite long until they get to that start-finish line. He can go whenever he wants at this point. Coming to the safety car line. They already crossed that pit entry there. And Nicholas Paletti's going. Looks like he's going. One position already made for Zach Nuremberger back there. A couple positions moved as they some drivers timed the start better than others, but Nicholas Paletti holding first quite comfortably up there. Half-second gap back to Adrian Garcia.
And there's still a big gaggle going into the chicane here.
3 wide back there as they go in. No collisions so far. Daniel Barnett, part of that mix. He's lost a couple positions.
Another couple cars
collision.
got tied up.
I think that was Dan Real involved. Oh, and the 7-Up car. That was of, trying to get my bearings here, Ken Huber, potentially? Let's see here.
I think it was
Ken Huber,
Ken.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So unfortunately, another bad race for Ken, yeah. Don't know what caused that incident to begin. However, that was involved with Dan Real there again, and Real's car melded into another one for another time.
Yeah, the T1 chicane at Monza, it's infamous.
Mark Dillon Jr. back here getting a nice view of this battling up ahead. Brian Privet just lost a spot to Daniel Barnett. Daniel Barnett trying to claw back. Claw up some more spots. It's actually up 3 from this start. Little wiggly for Privet in front in the purple. Mark Dillon Jr. might have a move here. Actually, it looks like Privet might have a move. Privet's making the move on Daniel Barnett into Parabolic. He's got the inside, the preferred line, and he's going to have to. He's a little bit too far back. Adrian Garcia heel with the fastest lap on that restart. Newbie into the pit lane. Must have gained some damage from that as well. That incident that we saw with Ken Huber.
go a little further up, we've got a pretty nice battle brewing between Nick Terrell, Daniel Rial, and Kevin Burnquist going down the front straight there.
Yeah, Berquist also fighting off Dan Real, or yeah, as you just said, and Tony Watson, I mean, is also sticking to the back of this group here.
Oh, trying to go around the outside.
Gonna be tough to go around the outside of Curva Grande. Kevin Berquist maintaining that position. Didn't feel like it needed to do any defense there. It was about as close as it can possibly get. Dan Real sticking behind, Tony Watson behind, all three of these. Back behind that, Zach Nurnberger is side by side with Steve Cubay. Steve Cubay backs out of it. Looks like he was going to try to end wide for Zach Nurnberger through Lesmo 1, through Lesmo 2. Wow, he was able to keep that speed going. Tony Watson made his way around Dan Real. John Kelly right now real close to Richard Curry as they head into Ascari. Not trying to make a move yet, but they are falling back a little bit from Richard Curry there is falling back from Jeff McDonald. There's actually a 3-second gap now between those two. Very wide for a car back there. That is a crash. Dan Real, I believe, yeah, wheel coming off. Looks like no one else involved in that as he comes across the track.
Yeah, it looked like he blew one of the wheels straight off the car.
And that's absolutely what happened there. Easy to get loose through Ascari. Richard Curry trying to get this position on John Kelly. Coming down into Redifilo, not able to make the move on the brakes. As the drivers manage the wear more and more, should be more difficult to do so. Tony Watson passing Kevin Berquist there, 4P9 overall. It has been a hectic first few laps, and lots of guys still close to each other. Brian Privet close to Daniel Barnett and Mark Dillon Jr. Mark Dillon Jr. has made his way past both of these guys, so he passed Daniel Barnett and actually lost position and got it back coming into turn 1. Oh, and that's off track for number 67 there. Looks like he survived. Daniel Barnett luckily surviving that incident. You don't usually survive a clobber of that curb.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm really shocked that these open wheel formula type cars are able to go over those curbs. The GTs don't like to do it at all.
At the front, Vihil keeping it close with Paul Boyle, but Nicholas Paletti is, as is custom, starting to pull a lead ahead from his teammate Paul Boyle there. It's now dropped him about 3.5 seconds, getting close to that point. And Vihil's starting to try to pressure Paul Boyle, and it may help out Paletti even more.
Yeah, if those two guys get into a battle, it's only giving Nick the opportunity to run away, especially here.
Yeah, Barnett losing that position to Brian Privet. Let's see if he's able to get it back into Parabolica. Not trying to make the move. Slight defensive shade from Privet. And Barnett trying to go the long way around. It's actually going to bring Leonardo Elijah into this. Leonardo Elijah may have a better run coming into the Redifilo chicane. John Kelly losing a couple positions in turn 1, getting one back from Curry, and losing it again. Oh, they touch, coming around Curva Grande. No crash, but these two drivers just touch each other quite close. They've been close the last couple laps now. And it looks like they're going to be side by side. A little bit of a defensive weave there heading into the second chicane. Not able to make anything happen.
Yeah, you can tell these guys aren't giving each other any room, that's for sure.
Brian Privet and Leonardo Elijah. Daniel Barnett's at the front of this pack here. And both these drivers involved in an incident. Barnett off track, and then a collision between these two.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but they drove away pretty much unscathed.
Yeah, luckily no major damage to either car. Tony Watson sticking to Nick Terrell here in the top 10. The positions have certainly, you look at that gain and loss, no one in their original position except for Nicholas Paletti there, who's leading the race. And Nick Terrell, the driver just mentioned, is up 9 spots already in just 6 laps.
Tony's he's not really getting away though, is he? He's sticking to him.
Yeah, you can see right there, Tony's Sector 3 was actually the fastest Sector 3 on the track of this entire race so far with a 17.62. So has some real strengths around this track right now, staying close. And I mean, once somebody's got you on their toe, it is hard to break that here at this track. And Watson actually has the overspeed, but Nick Terrell taking the inside line, definitely the preferred line, hard on the brakes. Gives Tony plenty of room on the inside. I don't think that he's going to be able to make it work here. Now coming through Curva Grande, gets back and takes some more draft.
That was some first-class racing right there. They respected each other's boundaries and hit one of the most dangerous turns on this course.
Yeah, smart defense by Nick Terrell, and Tony Watson taking what Nick will give him. And he actually is ahead coming into the Rogia chicane. I can't believe that he had that overspeed there. Tony Watson already makes the move. And now he's going to have some freedom through these two Lesmos where it's not a passing opportunity to try to just pull ahead just a little bit. Nick Terrell a little bit wide as well. Here's the move. Tony Watson quite far back, but he nails those brakes so much later on the brakes than Nick Terrell and way ahead through that chicane.
Yeah, maybe Nick had to give it a little more brake than he was used to, and that gave Tony the advantage.
Goes to show potentially practicing some alternate lines on this track, really finding out where you need to brake, not just for your qualifying runs, not just for when you're running alone, but also when you're trying to pass somebody, where you need to brake to really nail it. And it looks like practice paid off for him there.
Indeed it did, and Monza is one of those tracks where you've literally got to wait until you see God before you jump in the brakes. That's how you get things done around here with all the limited passing opportunities.
Yeah, not many high G passes you're going to see here. It's all on the brakes into the stopping parts of this track, which there are a few heavy braking zones. You've got the two first chicanes of Redifilo and Rogia. The third chicane of Ascari, it's a decent run down into it, but it's not as hard of a braking zone. A little bit tougher to make it work there. And if you're really brave, you can make a move into Parabolica. But that's essentially just what the whole track is those sections there, other than the Lesmos. So that's why there's just not too many opportunities. We're already 8 laps in, closing in on that 1/3 mark. And Nicholas Paletti's still leading, but that gap that he's been pulling has been slowing down a little bit.
Well, Nick's got to remember too, this is the longest race of the 2 races tonight. You got to save a little something. You don't want to totally wear yourself out.
You know, all things being considered here, there's been actually a lot of really strong, clean driving here. There was a couple incidents there at the very start of this race, but beyond that, we have seen very few mistakes, even battling each other. Really no mistakes. Christopher Newby just making that move on Leonardo Elijah. Newby had to pit after some damage in that early incident, and he's trying to make some spots up here.
Yeah, this is a hard track to come from behind on, but it can be done if you got the pace.
Here's the move Newby made. Is down 6 positions because of that early incident, but has plenty of opportunity to catch back up. And again, the top 10 reverse grid for the next race. So that 10th position is important, and that's actually what we're looking at right now with Kevin Berquist, who is trying to get to 9th, but Steve Cubey inserting himself into this conversation as well, desperately trying to get into those spots.
Yeah, it's real interesting to see the mid-pack's been really tight in this race. I mean, they just kind of bunched up and stuck together for the last few laps. And, you know, all these guys, you can tell they're just looking for any little weakness, any little advantage they might be able to gain off
Oh,
one
no,
another.
Jeff McDonald. Something's happened to Jeff McDonald here through the Rogia chicane, disappearing to the inside. Let's get another look at that.
Too much curb, maybe.
A lot of trees here to block some of these cameras. Jeff McDonald coming down to the Rogia chicane. The second chicane, it looks all... Yeah, he had already lost control of it. Couldn't get it turned around before getting near that wall. Has to put it in the reverse. And that's why he's lost those positions that we saw there. back to 11th place, so just out of that reverse grid, but eighth of a second off, or 8/10 of a second off, has that chance to try to catch back up. And now that's Zach Nurnberger sitting there in the reverse grid pole spot. If I remember correctly, was reverse grid pole for Red Bull Ring as well.
Looks like he's trying to get it done there.
Yeah, he's not happy with just 10th place. He wants to take 9th place, and that's going to be tough for him to fight this, or for Bergquist to fight this, because Nurnberger had a killer run through there. May even try to make a move on Q-Bay. When you get these drivers all paired up, or packed up like this, you can't just be okay with taking one spot. You got to try to take two. Deep on the inside. Oh, and there's a minor collision between the two. Nurnberger makes it away unscathed, but Q-Bay unfortunately spun in that incident there.
It looked like Burnquist might have got collected in that a little bit.
See this again. Nurnberger having to take the inside. He's got that pressure from behind. I don't think Q-Bay quite knew he was there on the inside. Ooh, big damage. The rear wing completely off of Steve Q-Bay's car there. I think Bergquist was the other one involved in that, but may not have gotten too much damage. We do see him back there in 12th now. Mark Dillon Jr. up 6 spots. He's in that reverse grid pole position, but potentially might lose that spot coming into Ascari here. Actually, Tony Watson not making the move quite yet. It is a brave move that you have to make if you're going to try to pass into Ascari, but it can be done. A great exit for Tony Watson. Let's see if he's able to make that move. He's got the run heading into Parabolica. He's already ahead by a nose at least.
It's a straight drag race down to the Parabolica.
And it looks like he's going to stay ahead. Nice move by Tony Watson through Parabolica. Has got that lead. Adrian Garcia-Vigil just took second from Paul Boyle. Paul Boyle, incident here into turn 1. Oh, that was close.
Oh, just a
bit of a lazy slide there.
Yeah, a little bit too much brake maybe going in. Lost the rear end.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me as well. Just maybe a little hard on the brakes. And when they get kind of cooled off, as you know, the Parabolica is not a real hard braking event. So after the Ascari chicane, the brakes have that opportunity to really cool off coming down into turn 1. Can give you issues, and I think that may have what undone him there. He is still in 3rd place, only lost that 1 spot, but he has John Kelly less than a second behind him now.
Boy, Mark Dillon Jr. and Tony Watson and Zach, these 3 guys, they grouped up and now they're sticking together. This racing is just first class.
Paul Boyle has got that spot back, and that is a result of this incident here for Vigil. Into the Ascari chicane. Oh, you can't tell from that view, but he's too close to the wall to make that full turn. Has to put it in reverse like we saw Jeff McDonald do. No damage, luckily.
Still heartbreaking nonetheless.
Ball's back to 6th, down 4 from where he started. Has that opportunity to try to get some spots back. We're at lap 12. Closing in on the halfway mark for this feature race. Just trying to catch my breath at this point now, but that battle up there for the podium position is quite close. That was 3/10 coming into the braking zone of turn 1. Now a couple guys into the pit lane. Kevin Bergquist and Brian Privet potentially had some minor damage from earlier in this race, but certainly well within the pit strategy of this race. So just choosing to do it now, and we've seen some undercuts work wonders so far earlier in this season. We'll see if that's what happens for these guys.
Looks like Tony's putting the pressure on Zach now. Got around Mark.
Yeah, Tony looking really strong, really confident in this car. Looks more planted than a lot of the other guys right now. And we'll see if he's got the chance to make the move into Ascari. He chose not to earlier with Mark Dillon Jr., so he may try to wait until Parabolica, try to nail the Ascari chicane again. So we'll have to see here as we come through this section. Making the move, and actually Jeff McDonald there quite close. Must have made a mistake on the exit of the second Lesmo. Kind of groups them all up together now. And Tony Watson doesn't look like he's going to have the run for the move here, but still enough to really keep Zach Nurnberger guessing and probably pretty stressed out. Actually, he made a shade to the inside. A bit of a late reaction for Nurnberger, but all's fair.
Yeah, he managed to keep the line covered up, so that was good defense on his part. I mean, it's got to be tough being stuck in the middle. You got the guy in front to deal with, and then you got all the pressure on the back. Like right now, Tony's just trying to make it go wherever he can to get around Zach.
Big run for Tony Watson into turn one. Does not have the inside, though. He's going to have to be brave on the brakes and the turn in. Zach Nurnberger not there for that turn in. Now Tony Watson going to try to hunt down Jeff McDonald potentially for that 8th place spot. Zach Nurnberger, though, still in the top 10, still in that reverse grid pole position. However, he does have Mark Dillon Jr. closing up on the behind. Ooh, we do have potentially an incident here for Leonardo Elijah. Coming into turn one. A little bit behind those guys that we were just seeing on track there. Just a little bit too much gas, it looks like. Oh, and unfortunately gets stuck out there in the grass with that throttle as well.
Yeah, that's one of the worst parts when you get out on the grass, and if you get too excited, your adrenaline's pumping, you'll just keep spinning it right around.
Take a look at that pass that Tony Watson made on Zach Nurnberger as well. I actually just made the pass on Jeff McDonald, so we'll go to that as well. Making the move into turn one.
Yeah, Tony just had him out steamed down the straightaway.
And then let's take a look at this pass here. This is Tony Watson on Jeff McDonald, 4P8. Just a killer exit again. He's just nailing these guys on the turn exits, especially of Ascari there. It's another pass that he's made coming down in the Parabolica. Nearly had the chance to do it to Zach Nurnberger on the previous lap. John Kelly into the pits. Mark Dillon Jr. into the pits. Looks like Vihil may have had an incident again as well. This is coming down into turn one, as we've seen many incidents so far. Let's see if it looks similar to what we just saw from Leonardo Elijah. It looks identical.
Nice recovery, though. He was able to hang on to it, keep it on the track, and get it going forward again.
A few drivers already have made that pit stop. It does throw up a little bit of question into where we're seeing everybody for position. Berquist, Privet have both taken their pits, and then Mark Dillon Jr. has already taken his as well as some of the guys there at the back. None of the front runners so far. Actually, Richard Curry there is making the move on Paul Boyle through Ascari. Has the run. Paul Boyle trying to take that inside line. I don't know if it's if he's going to be able to stay ahead. He's already nose to nose. Parabolica, they actually go side by side, but Curry's got the speed on the outside of this faster, shorter line for Paul Boyle, but I don't think it's going to pay off for him here. Oh, he goes in the pits. Okay. Trying to avoid the battle there, but that was going to be a move made for Richard Curry there, I believe.
Yeah, Curry just had massive speed through that corner to take it on the outside like that. That was pretty amazing.
Lots of guys coming into the pits now. Vihil, Terrell, Watson, Nurnberger, Jeff McDonald staying out, but most of the field now coming in for their pits, so I would imagine that we're probably going to see the rest of them come in on this lap. Nicholas Paletti there does have a current, it's 14 seconds, and it may change a little bit once we get past this pit strategy, the pit cycle, but man, this has been a really strong race for Paletti after two great showings already so far this season. Drivers making their way out of the pits. Waiting for some of that to get reported on the pit strategy board there, but most of the field haven't taken their pit stops already. Richard Curry here sitting in second in one of the many yellow cars we have in this field here. Well, Christopher Newby's just made the move on Jeff McDonald there. Jeff McDonald, an incident. Wide in Lesmo 2.
Ooh, that was a little too close.
Yeah, got lucky not hitting that wall. Even more lucky that just kind of spun his car. The grass spun his car back towards the track, only losing that one spot. Curry into the pits, Paletti into the pits. Stephen Thompson staying out, though. So far, the only guy to keep it out here. Paletti already on that pit exit, just going to show how fast he's been today. He comes out just 8 seconds behind Stephen Thompson, and Thompson has not made that pit stop yet. So it's Tony Watson or Leonardo Elijah, the only other driver to have not made a pit so far, from what I can tell. And it's just Stephen Thompson out there, but that does not surprise me, knowing Stephen.
It's kind of interesting to see how things are shaking out. You know, we got Nick back up front, of course, or will be after Steven takes his pit. But then you got Richard Curry, who kind of worked his way up, and then Paul Boyle, who lost a spot. Adrian Garcia is still up there, and Zach Nurenberger has worked his way up to 6 overall.
Yeah, he's up 7 spots right now, and may stay ahead of Stephen Thompson when that pit comes for him, so maybe even up 8. And Richard Curry has worked his way up just like he did in qualifying, too. Even qualified, his laps just continued to get faster, and that final lap putting him up into 4th place. So doing the same thing in this race so far, and it's been a strong showing. There's still 11 laps to go, so a lot of action to happen. Watson trying to make another move here on Nick Terrell. Nick Terrell's up 10 spots, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything to hold this back here. Watson is already a nose ahead coming into the braking zone, and he has been mighty on the brakes so far. Looks like Nick Terrell shading back, and that's a spot for Tony Watson.
Yeah, Tony's got the passing braking down into that chicane.
Oh, that was close.
No one's just had an answer for him there.
Nick Terrell able to make use of that exit and may be able to keep his position. He's going to back out a little bit. He's taking the inside. Tony Watson trying to stay ahead. Stephen Thompson coming out of the pits currently in 3rd. That was actually a fantastic little stint that he had there at the end. I think that's higher than we probably expected him to come out there. 3rd place for him right now. Zach Nurenberger getting closed up on by both of these guys. They're both using the draft, but this really helps Tony Watson stay ahead as he has that draft from the car in front. Coming through Curva Grande. Doesn't look like a move is going to be made coming into the 2nd chicane. But Tony Watson has been eating up drivers so far this race. Him being only up 3 spots belies kind of how his race has gone. He has done a great job to make all these overtakes so far.
Yeah, he's having a great race so far, and I think now that he's got Zach in his sights, it's only a matter of time before we see that trademark out-braking pass into that chicane.
Oh, another great exit through the 2nd Lesmo. This is how he made the initial move on Nick Terrell back there. May make the move again, coming down into the Ascari chicane. Nurenberger fighting it on the outside, has to back out. He was Tony Watson already so far ahead. He had to halt his turn in, and that's going to hurt him with Nick Terrell now behind.
Yeah, Nick's got the draft, and he's not afraid to use it.
Had the better exit, is already a nose ahead. As they come into the Parabolica chicane, Nurenberger on the preferred line on the inside, at least offensively. But Terrell sticking it on the outside here, way out into the green, hopefully not losing too much traction. Looks like he maybe just lost a little bit of acceleration, but has that overspeed.
Oh, turn one's going to be good because you know Nick doesn't back down.
Still not pulling out to the side. Is he not going to try to make a move here? He does not. He's not trying to make that. Oh, and Tony Watson, a little bit of a lockup. A collision with Zach Nurnberger. Rear wing gone on Tony Watson's car. That is going to necessitate a pit stop to repair that. And that is Mark Dillon Jr. making his way past Nick Terrell there up to 7th place as he was able to avoid that incident for the most part.
Well, I saw the underside of Zach's car. I can't help but wonder if he took maybe a little damage in that. I mean, he was in the air.
You can see here Tony Watson heading into turn 1. Tried to save it.
Oof, such a hard hit.
If we take a look at it from Zach Nurnberger's perspective, this is what he's seen coming into that corner. That's a big hit.
And he really didn't have any time to react. It just happened so fast.
Nick Terrell, smart to avoid that. We saw him just take to the grass and completely avoid that incident there as he had just lost the position and able to stay behind, although kind of slow there. I don't know if there was just a mistake made, but Terrell in 11th. I think he would have picked up any damage from that.
No, he didn't make any contact. I think he steered clear of the curbs as well.
Yeah, came close with Mark Dillon Jr. here as they went through the Curva Grande section, and Nick Terrell was trying to get back up to speed, but Mark Dillon Jr. trying to hunt down Kevin Berquist here. Both these guys fighting for a podium for the B class right now. Stephen Thompson is the one winning the B class, and he's up to 4th overall. Actually, lockup, I could see that coming. Touching the wall in front wing, entirely falling off for Mark Dillon Jr. there. That is a heartbreak. What a minor collision to have that happen to.
Yeah, it didn't look like it should have been fast enough to take the nose cone off like that, but it did. That's racing, I guess.
See that event again from a aerial view. Just getting spooked on the brakes.
It looked like Burnquist took a little more break there at the end than Mark was expecting.
Yeah, unfortunately, really nothing you can do to avoid that kind of situation. The driver in front, I mean, you can only brake so much before the car won't handle it anymore, and it happens even more frequently in open wheelers than tin tops. But Stephen Thompson trying to make his way. He's already the leader for the B class, and this will be his 3rd race, so he is in B class for the rest of the season. But he is trying to make this an overall podium for this race here, trying to track down Paul Boyle.
Yep, Boyle still has a couple sectors faster, but they're not by much. I'd say these guys are pretty evenly matched right now.
Yeah, Thompson's up 8 spots. Did not qualify as high as his race pace is here, and trying to prove something in this feature race. Again, higher you finish here, you're going to have to start back a little bit further in the sprint race, but the feature race is worth more points. That was on lap 27 laps to go. We're 38 minutes into this race here. John Kelly making that pass on Dillon Jr. as Dillon Jr. comes into the pits. Obviously had that damage that needed to be fixed in the car, and just now I think was able to limp around to that pit entry.
Yeah, the front end of that car must have been just painful to drive around this place with nothing putting any downforce on the front tires.
Paul Boyle going a little bit wide there in the second Lesmo. Doesn't hurt his pace. May have earned him a little bit of an off track there, but I guarantee that he's not the only one that's happened to so far in this race. Nick Terrell in the pit lane, so I think he actually did have damage from something there. There may have been a netcode collision with Mark Dillon Jr. As he was trying to rejoin the track there, as they did come quite close together. And that's unfortunate because that's going to put, he's right now back in 15th. Let's see if I can. This event here shows what happened. Oh, this was a totally separate incident here that we didn't catch here a couple laps ago, but that wouldn't. Maybe that just jostled the front wing up enough. I mean, it can happen.
Yeah, or maybe gave the underside of the car some damage.
Yeah, there is floor damage in this sim, so it's something that the drivers have to worry about.
Especially over those huge bumps they've got on the chicanes. Those things are monsters.
Yeah, we have had a number of incidents, but still, when you have an event like that, it does take you out of that reverse grid section. So right now, John Kelly, last guy in that top 10, so he, as it stands, would be the one starting on reverse grid pole, and unfortunately, Brian Privet would be the first guy out. But he does have 4 seconds to Kelly up front to try to make that happen. Kevin Berquist also trying to make something happen on Chris Newby here, coming down into the second chicane, the Roger chicane. Not close enough to make a move happen yet, though.
Yep, he's just going to have to stick with him and hopefully, draft him and line him up for a good corner here coming up.
Exit Lesmo 2 here, so important, and that is wide there for Chris Newby, feeling a little bit of pressure potentially. He even got into that sand a little bit. I don't think it really slowed him down too much, but that will add to his incident point count regardless.
Yeah, Berquist just wasn't close enough to get it done into that chicane there. Let's see what he does. We should be approaching Parabolica, if I'm not mistaken.
Dillon Jr. into the pits again. Might be calling it for this race here at least. Nürnberger trying to make that move on Elijah. Let's see how close they are here coming in. Nürnberger into Ascari. Oh, and he's already ahead. Nice move. Trying to recover some spots here. Berquist with the run down into the Redafila chicane. I don't know if there's enough of a draft here. They're about to get to the braking zone. He's heading to the inside, though, trying to brake late. Newby brakes later, though. Able to keep that position for now, at least.
It showed some smart driving on his part, not trying to really force the issue, but definitely letting him know he's there.
Actually trying to take it around the outside, Kevin Berquist of Curva Grande. Not the easiest thing to do. It's obviously a longer run, but it maybe has a little bit of a better exit through the first chicane, backing out of this one as well. Needs to set up one of these corners to really make that move stick.
Yeah, he's going to have to if he wants to get around it. There's just no other way at Monza, really.
Sticking close. Nicholas Paletti now has a 17. I was waiting for it to hit that point. 17-second lead for first place. I mean, there's only a couple corners on this track. There's not a lot of spots to really gain that much time. It just goes to show how impressive this lead that he's got is, because there's almost nobody else separated by that amount of time. He's the leader in the points, and he's continuing to pull away with that.
Yeah, Nick has just been putting in hot lap after hot lap. Nobody's got any answers for him, at least in this race.
Yeah, just to pull it up real quick, here's what our overall standings look like before this heat here. Paletti leading with 113, Nürnberger at 98, and then Berquist, Thompson, Cube, Boyle, Kelly, Real, Huber, Vihil, all these guys within 7 points of each other. Back from them, Calgary Jr., who's not here at this race, just noticed. Newby, Borland, Shallington, Dillon Jr., Doty, Curry, Elijah, McDonald, and Watson rounding out the top 20. Following those guys to round out the whole field of competitors so far this year, Watson was 20th, and then Barnett, Craig, Alcala, Best, Privet, and Nick Terrell.
And it looks like Richard Curry, Paul Boyle, and Stephen Thompson are standing to make a really nice gain in the points after this one.
Berquist has done a great job so far. Oh, and a little bit of mistake. Might be able to make the move on Chris Newby here. Newby, the gap was extending, but that lockup into the Roche chicane, a great save, though, to keep it on the track. But Berquist has gained a lot of spots in all of the races so far this season. Is, again, like I said, the third overall standing guy, but it is very close. I mean, there's not much separating that all the way back to 10th and 11th. Doing here into the Ascari chicane. The time is running out a little bit. They're about to start lap 25, so it's going to be 3 to go when they hit the line. And he's only going to have a limited few more opportunities to try to make this pass. But certainly Newbie feeling a little pressured here as he takes a bit of a defensive line here, not immediately heading to the racing line into Parabolica.
Yeah, and with it being so late in the race, Kevin's got to make a move. He's going to have to try to find a spot where he can catch and get around him. He's just running out of time.
Decent run out of that corner here. Is going to try to make something happen here, but let's see if it pays off. They're going to be nose and nose heading in. Deeper on the brakes by Newbie, but Berquist's still there. He's got to give him the room. Berquist on the outside. I don't know if he had that drive on the exit of that corner. He may have. He's on the inside. He's going to have the shorter run into Rogia. Newbie might have to slip back in at this point, actually. I don't know if he's going to be able to stay ahead. Newbie keeping up with him, though. Into the Rogia chicane, keeping the inside. That's where you want to be. Oh, what a move by Berquist. Yeah. I know he'd already had that move done, but he nailed that corner there on the outside.
Yeah, he really locked it in.
So Berquist securing that position. Zach Nuremberger a little bit further back, trying to make his way into 11th. If anything were to happen to a driver up at the front, that would put him into 10th, into that reverse grid pole. So I think that's really what he's eyeing, because John Kelly himself is out of touch. But if he's able to get this move on Privet and anything happens up there, which anything can, then something could precipitate for him. Then further up, Stephen Thompson still trying to get that third place spot on Paul Boyle. Tough, but Paul Boyle is actually closed up to Richard Curry, and maybe both of these guys trying to move up a spot.
Yeah, if they just kind of keep each other in check a little bit, the Boyle and Thompson, they could definitely go up there and give Richard Curry some problems.
Yeah, we're looking at second, third, fourth here, and just to give you an idea of how far ahead Paletti is. Paletti's already, right now, he just made his way through the second Lesmo. He's heading down the straight to the Ascari chicane. These guys haven't even got to the first Lesmo. 18 and a half seconds now for Paletti, and if Curry has to do any defending, it's only going to grow.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want to do here at Monza is get locked into a battle with another driver, because it's really, in the end, just slowing the both of you down.
Yeah, we've already seen a lot of examples of that today, of drivers able to catch up. Oh, Steve Cubet into the pits. He may not have had the fuel, and that does put Zach Nuremberger there in the 10th place. He made the move on Brian Privet, and now is in that 10th place reverse grid pole spot.
That's Zach. You got to keep both eyes on him, boy.
Cards falling his way so far in this race, despite the early incident. Of course, had that collision with Tony Watson. Tony Watson has retired from this race. Hopefully we at least see him in the sprint there, because he just had some electrifying pace out there. Best times, the driver with the fastest lap so far is Vihil with a 43.616. And that's actually a healthy amount ahead of most of the other guys. Paletti of 43.7. You know, when you're a 10th and a half ahead of Paletti, that's a pretty big statement there.
Yeah, it looks.
Thompson. Oh. Keeps going.
Yeah, quality driving on Thompson's part, boy. He hung on to it. And Adrian is getting ready to catch up. He's just right back there behind Steven. he wants part of this party, too.
Oh, and Berquist in the pits as well. He may be also short on fuel. I think Berquist was one of the first guys we saw come into the pits. Was it potentially a miscalculation? He's in that pit lane, and that has already lost him a couple spots, although we'll see where he comes out here. Still hasn't been passed by John Kelly. Is John Kelly in the... He's not in the pits, so he may just lose to 9th here at least.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. He was having such a great race.
Berquist ahead of Brian Privet into the pits as well. We're having some interesting fuel issues here as Paul Boyle close enough to try to make a move on Richard Curry. Let's see if he can get that exit through Ascari. It looks like he's a little bit slidey, but he may have that draft to help him out.
Yeah, it's
Nick Bloody crossing the line for the white flag.
It's going to be hard to get anything done this late in the race. Those tires are begging for mercy by now, but Boyle gets it done on the inside.
Yeah, Curry just didn't have that braking performance into Parabolica, and Paul Boyle's well ahead by a few tenths now. We'll see if Curry's able to fight back. He's still on the podium spots, but see if he can get back up to second place here.
He's going around
Right
the
on the
outside.
He is deeper. He's ahead. He's a nose ahead. Deeper on the brakes. Does he have it slowed down enough? He does. He gets the position back on Paul Boyle, Stephen Thompson, Adrian Garcia-Vigil into the pits as well. So a lot of these drivers maybe not even able to get a one stop on this race. Won't matter when we come to the sprint, but a shocking revelation here for some of these guys who maybe thought they were going to be able to make it.
But this battle isn't done between Boyle and Curry. They're still going. They're going to go right down to the wire.
Yeah, they've made it through the last really opportunity to make the move. Well, actually, Paletti may be running out of fuel too, because he's only 10. He lost 8 seconds now to Richard Curry. Oh, he actually had a we'll catch it after the end. He is still in first. He did have an incident, and was still able to keep that first place spot. Paletti making his way through Ascari chicane. There's really no more big passing opportunities for Boyle. This really may, like you said, actually come down to a drag race to the line as they make their way out of Parabolica.
Yeah, what it's going to come down to is who gets their exit coming out of Parabolica. That's really where it's going to be made or broke.
Speaking of that, Nicholas Paletti here coming around through Parabolica for another win. Is our championship leader, multiple-time winner already this season, and is going to be coming across in first place. It's going to be a tougher ask for him in the sprint race starting from 10th, but that's another victory for Nicholas Paletti. Here's Paul Boyle coming through, and I don't think he's going to have it. Richard Curry able to defend that second place spot. What a stout defense for him.
And that was some really good racing at the end by both drivers. It really was.
Donald able to stay up here in 6th place. Had a couple incidents, finishing exactly where he started, but not a horrible result given what could have happened, especially given the standing start, early incident. Here in 6th place overall, it's a strong finish for him. Christopher Newby's going to finish right behind him.
Yeah, nice recovery drive for Jeff McDonald for sure.
Steve Cubay is close enough to make this move on Leonard Elijah. Kevin Berquist is going to come across in 10th, it looks like, as the reverse grid pole. Steve Cubay making a move on the final lap into Parabolica. Leonard Elijah, I think, maybe backing out of this one, actually into the grass even. Keeps it alive, though. Leonard Elijah's going to cross the line here in 12th place. A couple more guys behind to finish up their laps. Nick Terrell, a driver involved in a couple incidents, unfortunately. None his fault, and going to try to have a better sprint race, but he will be starting in this 13th position for that sprint race. And Brian Privet also seemed to be involved in a couple things himself, crossing in 14th. Not a race with a bunch of huge incidents, but a lot of small things took some of these guys out, and I'm interested to see how this mixed-up order kind of helps them out. But we will take just a couple-minute break, and we will be right back with you. All right, and we are back waiting for these guys to take their grid spots. You can see a couple guys gridded, and should be Kevin Berquist there on that reverse grid pole. He's already lined up there. So we'll see how he's able to do from the front here. It's adds an extra layer of stress when you see nobody in front of you, but I mean, the only thing that can happen is getting hit from behind, which that's just extra frustrating to feel.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's nothing you can really do about it. You know, fortunately, Zach Nurnberger is on the outside pole in P2, so both these guys, they know what they're doing. Let's see what they do into the first chicane here.
10 more seconds to grid. A couple of guys there at the back not in this race, but we see a few, Dan Real and Tony Watson at least in this race here, so that's good to see. But a couple guys still not in, and that's the 1 minute up. So we'll be expecting the lights here. Waiting for the reds. 1 red, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Green, green, green.
And they're off. Awesome start for Kevin Berquist there as he nails the acceleration. All the way 3-4 wide, all the way back through the field into turn 1. Drivers all over the place. No collisions so far, but now they're into this braking zone. Looks like Fihil really mixed up in the middle there. Everyone, Jim McDonald spinning and Dan Real spinning. That was Christopher Newby and Dan Real together again for, I think, the 3rd time in this race. And that's 3 cars. Maybe a red flag here. Yes, that is going to be the driver slowing down. Nearly a collision there as they slowed down for the red flag as well.
Yeah, it almost looked like everybody was going to get through there clean.
It came so close. Jeff McDonald, I think, just spinning. And we'll have to see what kind of precipitated the other events. Let's see here. Jeff McDonald. Just, I think, a run-of-the-mill spin. No collision with anybody. John Kelly here now. He's on the inside of this. That was some pretty heavy net code there.
Yeah, it had to have been. They're all tangled up. Boy, that turn 1 at Monza, it's legendary.
Yeah, I know. We haven't didn't make it past turn 1 for either of these starts here, and I was wrong about Real. That was Newby. So Newby being involved in another incident, unfortunately. My presumption on that would be that would get awarded a no fault, given that was some pretty egregious net code there, and the drivers were not, their cars were not really that close to each other. Let's see, we had a couple other incidents happen a little bit further back as well, including Tony Watson here. Maybe just him slowing down.
Yeah,
no.
Looked like he got on the throttle a little quick there and just brought it around. Nothing too serious, but...
Yeah, makes collision with Brian Privet, and looked like the wing was pretty beat up, and then it magically repairs itself, actually. So... getting away with that one. May still probably use his fast repair just in case, because he does have a couple. So gets away with that one, and it's we're back to square one. Kevin Berquist, unfortunate, had that amazing start off the line, but is not going to be able to carry that advantage, and we'll just have to restart like normal here.
Let these guys get their tanks topped off.
Yeah, I don't think anyone towed either, so this should be a pretty quick procedure here as we're not really waiting for any cars. But Elijah, Huber, Dylan, and Barnett not participating in this race, or at least did not take that start. They're not in now, so I think that those guys are out. Obviously, Ken Huber, we saw involved in an early incident in that first race, and it's he's had so much pace, but unfortunately just none of the races have gone his way so far, just due to a number of different issues.
Yep, luck is a big part of it.
Waiting for everybody to finish up their pits here, but shouldn't be waiting on anybody to tow to the pit lane or to make their way in. And yeah, there we go. Kevin Berquist going to lead the field out. It's going to be just a restart, just like any other safety car, and that's going to be back around 1 lap's time. Going to try to get some heat into their tires. And that extra fuel will help out a little bit just with going a little bit further, but will not take them to the point that they can do this in without a pit stop, which only Nicholas Paletti has done so far for the first 2 events. However, the fuel was dropped slightly more from here on out. So the heroic fuel savings that Nicholas Paletti was able to carry to the victory, not going to do that again, but it doesn't really matter because he won the last race and I did forget to bring up our event. Nicholas Paletti had something happen right at the end of that race on the final lap where he lost 8 seconds, but unfortunately I lost that replay.
Well, whatever happened to him, it obviously wasn't bad enough to keep him from winning the race. It just wasn't as dominating of a win.
Tony Watson starting in 12th place. We'll be very interested to see how he does at the start of this race. A guy that was really carving up the field in that previous heat. Made up a lot of positions. A couple of other guys who did, such as Zach Nurenberger up there. He's already starting in second, so doesn't have a lot of positions to be able to gain. May try to pressure Berquist here at the start, but a couple guys further back that I'm interested to see on how they do, and especially seeing Nicholas Paletti, because Nicholas Paletti has, of course, the difficulty of starting. He got pole position, was able to start in first, never lost first place in that entire race, didn't even have to really fight for it, and now it's a whole new ball game for him.
Yeah, he's going to have to work his way through some pretty fast guys. It could be tough for him.
John Kelly and Nick Terrell, are they potentially... Terrell's there. John Kelly's there. I'm just trying to figure out why he's down 11 spots. Yeah, I can't answer that for you. You're seeing him there in third. So I think once they cross the line, that will fix itself. Kevin Berquist leading them around Parabolica. Is going to have the freedom to go wherever he wants at this point. Wait to see how long he waits here. Zach Nurenberger in second place right behind him with what should be John Kelly there in third and Christopher Newby in fourth. Newby able to reclaim that fourth place position. And Berquist, I think he's gone. Green flag. He's moving. Does not look like Zach Nurenberger's going to be close enough to make a move into turn 1, but everybody behind is as close as they could possibly get as we got 3-4 wide. They'd be shocked if there's no incidents coming through here, but safe for Berquist up front. Further back, a couple guys fighting. Here's Nicholas Paletti. He is still in that 9th place spot that he restarted in, keeps the spot ahead of Steve Cubay, and then is his teammate Paul Boyle in front, who has lost 1 spot. Vihil has lost 2. But does not look like he has any damage, just down a couple spots early in this race.
Yeah, you could tell the field kind of took it easy that time a little bit. They were only trying to go through there too wide.
Yeah, they got pretty all over the track, but filtered their way through eventually, and no collisions to my knowledge, and even no incidents, but a couple guys going a little bit wide there in Lesmo 2, or Lesmo 1 even, sorry.
And we've got, the top 8-9 guys, they're all bunched up real tight. They're going to start racing.
Stephen Thompson giving Vihil that spot there. Interesting to see. I'm not sure what influenced that decision there, but backing up out of it. It looks like he's driving real slow. I don't know if he has some sort of damage that he needs to get fixed from minor collision earlier. How much he's fallen off there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We'll have to see what Boyle does with him in the back there, if it's going to try to make a move or not.
Nick Terrell letting Real have that spot as well. Similar kind of situation. And Real getting really close to Tony Watson in the braking zone. Quite wide for Terrell here as he deals with a little bit of that dirty air. Jeff McDonald trying to make the move on Chris Newby. Looks like his top speed's stalling out a little bit. Newby's getting that benefit of the draft despite Kelly being just a little bit ahead there. McDonald on the outside definitely makes his way through the chicane, and he's ahead of Newby. What a move. That was a great move for McDonald, just given that he was not ahead into that braking zone.
Yeah, now he's got V-Hill to deal with. And
yeah, Vihil now making his way past Newby, so Newby losing a couple positions there just in one event, and nowhere to go into the Roche chicane here, but Vihil actually trying to make his way up one more. Oh, and another net code. Those cars did not touch. There was definitely not a collision between those two cars. That is such a shame to see, and potentially another thing we might not want to see here. Tony Watson outside of Dan Rial. That was it. That was again. There's more. I don't know if this is coming from my end, but
I don't know what would have caused that. I mean, they were giving each other space.
We've already seen now a few pretty egregious. By the way, Zach Nuremberger made the pass on Kevin Bergquist. Let's see, as long as the move is not remade here, Bergquist trying catch it real quick. The move that Nuremberger made on Bergquist. Coming down the inside into the Ascari chicane. Brave braking for him, and he's ahead. Back to live here. John Kelly put in the fastest lap. Actually, Nick Spletti now tops that. Spletti up to 7th. Has not flown through the field so far. Kelly doesn't know who to pick, but Bergquist is ahead deeper on the brakes by Nuremberger. Bergquist gets it slowed down for the inside. Nuremberger gets it for the second apex, and he is staying ahead for now at least. Let's see if he comes in. He's going to seal off that racing line from Bergquist.
Yep, he's going to have a drag race into the next chicane here.
We haven't seen a lot of passes into Roger so far, but this is going to be a prime opportunity for one. Nuremberger staying ahead, but look how close all of these guys are.
Then, not to mention, you got John Kelly back there. He's back there lurking. He's just waiting for one of these guys to make a mistake or open the door up.
Yeah, he's right there. He's only a couple tenths back from Bergquist, and McDonald himself has even brought himself to just a few tenths back from Kelly. So it does look like Nuremberger's a little bit of a healthy gap now, and he's going to love any battling that happens behind him right now. And that is a move being made by John Kelly into Ascari, not able to make it happen. Stout defense by Kevin Bergquist, brave defense, and look at that gap that he's now been able to pull, but he has fallen back a little bit due to it.
Yep. Zach right now is going to have to get his head down and drive. You know, just let these guys do what they're going to do. I mean, we got a 4-way battle going on for 4 different positions back there. If Zach can keep his head down and just drive the car, he could run away with all this action behind him.
Thompson running out wide there, experiencing the dirtiest of dirty air as he is close to all these drivers in front. He's right behind Nicholas Paletti, who just had set the purple lap before Cubey improved that. John Kelly is ahead of Jeff McDonald. Jeff McDonald taking the spot. John Kelly looks like he's going to take it at least through the apex here of turn 1. Paletti potentially sizing up a move. Not here for Raji, I would imagine, but potentially once we get through that second Lesmo. He has slowly made his way through the field, but given how close all these guys are, he is very close to the actual front. You can see Zach Nuremberger making his way through Lesmo 1 there, and that's easily within reach of our feature race winner and championship leader.
Yeah, he's still got his work cut out for him, but it's definitely doable.
Adrian Vihil incident here into the Rosia chicane. Not the first.
Yep, looked like he just got a little too aggressive putting the steering on.
Yeah, looking pretty similar to an incident Jeff McDonald had in the last race. But not the only guy to have done that, that's for sure. Actually, Bergquist not letting Zach Nuremberger really pull away. It was over a second, and he's brought that to sub-second again, despite having that John Kelly defense that he's having to put up from behind.
That's really hard when you got to put, one eye forward and one eye in your mirrors, especially when somebody's crowding your mirrors out like John Kelly is. I tell you, there he goes. He's going for the inside.
Kelly's already ahead by a nose. Coming in the brake zone. Let's see how they do on the brakes. Pretty much even. John Kelly a little bit deeper and on the inside. He's going to take that spot. McDonald trying to get the spot from Chris Newby back there as well. Not able to make it happen yet. Nicholas Paletti coming into the pits, so interesting call. It's probably the smart call as he tries to avoid any of this drama, this incidents. If he can put in some storming laps while these guys are out on track and he's alone, him and Paul Boyle came in together, then he may really be able to come out ahead of this whole field without ever having to pass really any of them on track.
Yeah. Well, and then he's going to have his teammate with him too, so if he needs some drafting help, he's got it.
Right now, Boyle is 7.8 seconds back, so probably a little bit further back than he wishes he was, just to do a little bit of teamwork, but anything can happen at this point. And this is the dream strategy for Paletti, so you can see how much free air he has in front of him right now.
Boy, these guys are just racing each other hard. No one is giving up anything in the top 8, top 9.
Yeah, we've already seen it happen in all of the both the first two races. Is the first race gets the jitters out, it gets the mistakes out, and all they got in this sprint race is just pure competition, and they've really honed in their racing lines, their racecraft through that feature race. Couple more guys coming into the pits. Okay, so this is very interesting. Where does Paletti come out with just one lap of undercut? Where does he come out with these guys? John Kelly, Jeff McDonald, Richard Curry in relation to them. Here is Paletti making his way around Parabolica. These three drivers, John Kelly just now exiting, Richard Curry exiting as well. Let's see how this in-lap and out-lap were for him. That's one car that he's got on the side. That's Richard Curry, and this is John Kelly. I don't think he's going to be ahead enough. Let's see, into the braking zone, coming out of the pits. He's got the tires warmed up, and Kelly does not. He's made the move. Nicholas Paletti has already made. He just passed now Jeff McDonald, Richard Curry, and John Kelly, all with that one lap earlier pit stop.
That was a brave move going into turn 1, too, boy.
Yeah. And he didn't lose much time either. And again, he's got free air in front of him. So this may be yet another instance where he's able to overtake some more guys virtually through the pit stops, as most of the rest of the field still stayed out.
That, and we're starting to see the field break apart. Looks like the top 4 or 5 guys are really starting to put a gap back to the other drivers who are also still kind of bunched up. It's kind of interesting to see. You got all the guys in the back who pitted, but then you got all the guys that are just out there running wide open up front, and then who knows what these guys in the middle are going to do. Their options are wide open at this point.
We see one car there not moving on that, and you see smoke. Brian Privet there trying to get his car facing back forward again. This was the original incident in the Ascari chicane. See him all over that steering wheel. Oh, that was a scary avoid. We got to see that, I think, from Tony Watson's view.
Tony's had so many tonight. I feel bad.
Here was Tony Watson's view into that. That was smart to do what he did. He had that awareness to just say, I need to stay off the track. I'll take the 1X. This is going to be in badly. And if he had stayed on that track, that was going to be a major collision between both guys.
Oh, yeah, he would have got collected for sure.
Kevin Berquist just lost a few positions. You can see there dirt all over the rear of his tires, off track for 7 seconds. Let's take a look at what precipitated this for him. Rocha chicane, I believe. Just a little hot. Oh, and that was a big whack on the wall. Lucky that he has not come in for his pit yet. Surely he'll do it now and take advantage of that safety, or the fast repair. It doesn't look like it. I mean, it could be worse, but regardless, you want to fix anything that happened there.
Yeah, he's going to have to. I mean, he's obviously down on top speed, which is, you just can't have that here at Monza.
It could have gone a lot worse for him with that fast repair. We'll probably see him come in now. But unfortunate, was running up there at the front and running quite well as well, staying very competitive with Zach Nuremberger. So there's Steven Thompson actually coming in the pit lane first as well. And Bergquist is not. Bergquist is not coming into the pits. So despite that whack to the wall, keeping it out on the track, lap 10, drivers can still go further, but I doubt anyone's really going to be taking tires. It's really just a matter of when you want to come in for your fuel. Also, that's Nicholas Paletti. He just crossed the line. Let's see, that's Steven Thompson. So he's made the virtual overtake on Steven Thompson. John Kelly going to be ahead of Steven Thompson as well, but he slips in between Kelly and Curry.
And the majority of our top 7 haven't pit yet, correct?
Yeah, let me pull up the. Nicholas Paletti is the top guy who has made a pit stop. From what top guy who's made a race pit stop, disregarding the red flag that we had. He is the guy running first on that strategy. All of the top 7 yet to come in for their fuel stop.
Well, that early stop, getting him out in the clean air, it could pay off for him. We'll have to see.
Yeah, a lot of these guys also in the top 7 having an early incident. Nick Terrell, Dan Real, Adrian Garcia-Heel, a lot of these guys having just some minor incidents early in this race, and that's another wrinkle to this as well. So hopefully through this kind of clean running that they've had, they're able to catch back up to the rest of the field. But they haven't had to pit for any damage, clearly. Not making a huge impression on Kelly here in front, but trying to make that move happen regardless.
I was going to say, you're not really seeing a whole lot of close battles like we were. Maybe the guys have calmed down a little bit. You know, obviously incidents have played a role in this second race here. I'm sure we'll see them bunch up here, especially when the top 7 go for their pits.
Yeah, I think part of it is that we do have guys who are virtually, you know, and that's deep. That's a lockup by Thompson and deep by John Kelly in front. He's going to have a slowdown as he goes through that section and lose that position to Steven Thompson. But I think a lot of these positions are close virtually. It's just we're seeing them on different parts of the track with the different pit strategies. It's not played out yet, but it will later. Kelly actually able to burn off this slowdown a little bit faster than I thought he would, and keeps it close here with Steven Thompson and Richard Curry now being brought into that as well in that classic camel livery that he's got. Oh, and that is a blown apart Vahil car, and that is going to bring, that's an instant tow. That was through Lesmo 1. I can imagine what happens here, but let's check the replay. It was actually a rather minor collision.
Yeah, but there were parts flying all off the car.
A little bit deep by Steven Thompson there. Kelly may be a better exit. Nuremberger sets a personal best at the front of the field with 1:44.9, but Newbie slightly faster at a 1:44.6. Still has 1.5 seconds to make up. It did look like Kelly has a slightly better exit, but not enough to make anything happen here. Wow, like I said, Richard Curry here fighting as well to catch up to this pair. Nicholas Paletti's starting to pull away from these guys. He is now a couple seconds away from Steven Thompson, and it continues to grow.
Well, I think too that if, you know, these front runner guys, if they have any hope left in strategy, it's going to be to run it out as far as they can and take the least amount of fuel and hopefully stay out ahead of Paletti.
Yeah. I mean, once Paletti made that move, and if you're really trying to fight for that win, You kind of just got to go the exact. If you're not going to immediately react like we saw a couple of the guys do, you have to go the completely opposite strategy route. And Curry making the move on Kelly. I think he had to back out of that one and missed a breaking point for Jeff McDonald there as he runs across those curbs. That may be a slowdown for him as well. Kelly able to keep that position ahead of Richard Curry. Steve Cubay, because of that mistake from Jeff McDonald, able to catch up to Jeff and trying to take that spot for what is currently 10th place. But with some pit stops, I think that's a net higher position than that right now. Oh, Dan Real running up in that top 5 despite not having pit yet, but that is a tow, it looks like, for him. Scary chicane, I think that's there. Yeah.
Just super hard hit into that wall.
Yeah, I think that he wrecked on the outside of Ascari there, actually, in the previous race as well. So, bad memories there for him in that turn, and it's probably going to be the end of his race. 6 laps left, and he still's got to make that tow. DQ Bay, huge run on Jeff McDonald. Already quite ahead, about a 10th ahead into the braking zone. See how he does. No lockup so far. And he's made his way through. Great move by Cubay. I think Cubay had something happen earlier in this race as well. So making some recovery moves here.
We also saw Richard Curry get around John Kelly going into T1 too, but it looks like they're battling a little bit up ahead.
Yeah, let's see that move here into turn 1. Like you said, Curry going on the inside, much deeper, barely in control of that car, squiggling on the brakes, but just had the right positioning.
Well, he managed to make it stick, and that's all that counts.
Oh, and he's wide. He's wide. Both cars wide, but Curry the only one to suffer from that. Steve Cubay, that was inches, millimeters away from a collision between Cubay and Kelly there. And Curry, I imagine, is out of this race. That was a same collision that we basically saw Vihil have. Jeff McDonald trying to take the spot back from Cubay after Cubay backing out of that move. And he's going to have to stay behind, I think, through here. He's taking a different line. He's getting really, really aggressive with Steve Cubay here in front. May be able to make that move. And then now look at that. That also brings in, what is that, Paul Boyle there, who is on a different strategy, has brought him right behind the two.
Yep, Jeff McDonald's got the better line going in. But all this battling is just allowing Paul back there to work his magic and get in the mix.
Jeff McDonald's making the attack happen. Wow, I can't believe that he got it slowed down as much as he did. Steve Cubay, a little bit of a wiggle on the throttle as they come out. And they're touching, the two are touching. And that is an unfortunate collision there. We just saw Paul Boyle wheels off that car. Yeah, that's the aftermath that we saw as the two touched. And that is another car it's going to be race over for. Wait, did it come back?
I don't know.
The wheel's back. It's a miracle.
That car was totaled.
This is him live here. He has damage, but the tire's on there. I mean, funky things happen sometimes with when you're dealing with the drivers from further away from the server. Obviously, Paul Boyle out there in the United Kingdom, and so sometimes damage can appear that didn't happen or can heal itself. So that's an incident of it there, but an unfortunate collision to happen regardless. Lost time and has damage to fix.
Yeah, and he already made his one pit stop, so the race is pretty much over, unfortunately. It's a tough break for Paul.
And therein lies the risk of taking an early pit. You know, there is the strategic element of it and potential benefit when you take that huge undercut. However, if anything minor like this happens, you're unfortunately out of luck if you've already made that pit stop. And yeah, he's going to be coming in to get that fixed and immediately come out. teammate here, Nicholas Paletti, running in 5th, but nobody in front of him having come in for the pit stop. Given the gap that I'm looking at, I think that I think he's net first, which shouldn't be a surprise given how dominantly he won that first heat. But I don't think any of these guys are enough ahead when you come to when you're talking about pit lane loss.
Right, and even if they are, it's going to be super close. Nick loves the clean air. He's super fast in it. We saw it last race. I'll be curious to see how this shakes out for Nick.
Yeah, Nürnberger, the only one that I think has a chance at staying ahead with, you see there, 25 seconds ahead of Nicholas Paletti. But certainly when you head back to Christopher Newby there, who's 19 seconds ahead, I just don't think that's enough for a pit cycle there. So well played on the strategy for Paletti so far, but if he does have anything happen like we just saw with Paul Boyle, actually, and okay, we're about to have it answered for us as the top 2 guys have now come into the pits, and top 3. So we'll keep on Paletti here and see what happens with these guys as he makes their way through. Both guys on the pit exit, maybe faster than I had initially anticipated. That is a car that's going to be out in front ahead of him up there. That's Zach Nürnberger's car. He is going to stay ahead. Nick Terrell not coming into the pits. He's staying out another lap. Nürnberger actually does keep first place, but Paletti does slot into what will be second place as Nick Terrell, 7 seconds ahead of Nürnberger, has to make that stop.
Now we're going to get to see Nick's real pace and see if he can chase Zach Nürnberger down for the overall win.
Just a second and a couple tenths in hand between the two. It's going to be difficult for Nürnberger to fight this off, as we've seen Nicholas Paletti faster than everybody, at least as far as race pace. He got pole as well, so qualifying pace and race pace, really faster than anyone at any point of most of these races, or at most points of any of these races.
But Zach's only got to hold him off for 3 laps. Let's see if he can do it.
It's not the first time that we've seen Zach Nürnberger and Nicholas Paletti take it down to the wire in the sprint race of Silverstone. We saw it come down to the actual final corner where Nürnberger was able to pass Paletti on fuel strategy in the final corner as Paletti ran out. In our second race at Red Bull Ring, it was these two that were finishing as first and second in the sprint race as well. And it came down to a 2 different strategies for them. Nürnberger actually taking that fuel stop and Paletti staying out. And Nürnberger just needing just a lap or 2 more to catch up. Nick Terrell coming in the pits. We may see another barn burner finish between these 2 guys in a sprint race, and I would not hate if this becomes a tradition here. Christopher Newby fighting with Jeff McDonald here. Let's see where Nick Terrell comes out here. He was an interesting case where he lost some time from something that happened earlier, but putting in some good laps. Dropping to 7th at least here, 8th place. May still come out here in the top 10. I think he's rejoining the track there in 8th place, so not a bad climb for him. Chris Newby pretty slow through the exit there, but I think he wasn't doing enough to seal off McDonald behind. Steve Cubey now brought into that conversation. The view from Cubey here. McDonald swinging out to the inside of the Rocha chicane to try to make the move. He has made the move. Oh, and what an avoidance. Incredible accident avoidance by Steve Cubey there. Newby getting on the brakes to avoid a collision, and that was some reaction speed there.
Oh, yeah, it looked like he just locked up in between there and just kind of got an advantage taken away from him.
And right after that happened, Cubey getting really, really leery there on that Lesmo 1 curb. Nearly took him out into the sand, and it maybe has him a little bit rattled as Newby has that run into this Scar chicane. Not going to make anything happen here, but may be able to try to claw back that position. That's off track. That may be enough to even get a slowdown there for Newby. Yeah, he's lost a lot of time. He may be serving a bit of a slowdown there due to that. Paletti now closed that down to a 7/10 gap up at the front. Still not enough to make a move into turn 1, and 2 laps to go as Nürnberger crosses the line. That was 3/10 faster as it stands, that may not be enough to get him into first place. Nürnberger may have the pace for this, but that was much stronger on the brakes there by Paletti.
Yep. Nürnberger's going to have to keep his cool. He's going to have to show it, show that he can do it in order to take home the overall win here tonight.
Yeah, he was faster in Sector 4. And so they were pretty much even there in that last Sector 5, pretty much even there in Sector 1, just a couple hundredths. But with such a tight gap between these two, Paletti just needs one run to try to make something happen. But actually, that's just to make the first move happen. We've seen so many times today a driver make a pass and then immediately get repassed as there's just kind of a give and take. But that last sector there, Paletti really, really speeding up compared to Nürnberger there. 2.5 tenths, and has now brought it down to a 3/10 gap. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to stay ahead coming into Ascari here. Paletti not making the move, however. Staying behind, just taking the draft. He knows that there's still a lap and a half to go, but just that it's only a few more passing opportunities. Let's see if he tries to make something happen here or if he's going to leave it for turn 1. Heading to the outside. This is going to be a true passing opportunity here, a true passing chance. And that's going to put Zach Nürnberger in the draft, though, into turn 1. We'll see if this is if he's able to swap the positions again.
Yep, Zach should have had his defense up a little bit harder in that last series of chicanes as he goes to the inside, trying to look into T1.
I wonder if he was not unhappy with Paletti taking that position as he's able to get that draft, like I said, and able to take that inside line. He is taking back the first place position, does not get loose on the gas there, and actually a little bit loose for Paletti. Paletti's losing a little bit of pace now. He's back 4 tenths.
Yeah, Paletti.
Just a slight wiggle.
Yeah, Paletti was off the racing line, kind of maybe out in the marbles a little bit. Car didn't like it. It cost him.
Coming down to the Roger chicane, he's got 3 tenths. He's not going to be able to make a move here. There is really just 1 or 2 more opportunities for him. He's absolutely staying right on the tail, but he's running out of chances here. And this really is going to come down to the very end here. Brian Privet just made the move on Chris Newby back there for the 9th place spot. Paletti even further back, almost a half a second. He is not going to be close enough to make the move into Ascari. Really not much defense that Zach Nürnberger has to put up at all. And if Nürnberger is able to nail the exit here, which that is saying a lot because that is difficult under these stressors. He hits that curb really hard though. Nicholas Paletti has to slow down so much in mid-turn. He goes out wide. I don't know if that was too wide to get a slowdown there. Side by side. This may be the opportunity for Paletti. He's going here no matter what. He is not backing out of this move here. This is going to come to the finish line. Takes provisionally the lead.
They are drag racing down that straightaway, boy.
Zach Nürnberger on the outside, and he's going to try to take that extra speed to the line. I don't know who's going to cross first. Nicholas Paletti wins by 4 hundredths. Another unbelievably, inconceivably close race between these two. And Nicholas Paletti now has that 2-1 advantage on him in sprint race victories.
That was an awesome finish right there. Love that. That was great racing.
Oh, Zach Nürnberger did everything he could. Just made a minor mistake in the Ascari chicane, and actually it was enough of a mistake that it almost slowed down Nicholas Paletti too much. But Paletti taking every inch that he could from that, getting that victory. A wonderful win for him, and another unbelievable finish to an O4A race. This has been an insane season so far, and it continues to be so. All right, take a breath here. If we can all kind of relax a little bit, let these guys cool down, and we'll be able to hear from a couple of our race winners here. Obviously, Nicholas Paletti clearly getting the overall win as he yet again won both races. For the B class, Zach Nürnberger did win the sprint race. However, his feature race, he finished back in 10th spot. So I'm trying to run the math in my head through who could have won the overall points there. Let's see at least if we pull up the results here. So for our first heat, Yeah, I think Stephen Thompson. Yeah, so Stephen Thompson, fourth in the first heat, and then in the or that was the second. In the first one, he was third. Second one, third. Sorry, the names mess me up. iRacing calls the second heat the feature, calls the last race the feature, no matter what. Stephen Thompson is the driver with the most points for the B class today, so he's the B class winner for the overall. And he's going to stay B class for this season. So Nuremberger and Thompson are going to be coming down to the line here for sure as we continue through the season.
Yeah, both really good drivers. It should make for an interesting championship indeed.
We do have Zach Nuremberger, our second place finisher there for that race, in the waiting room. If we want to talk to him, I think he got second for points potentially in the B class tonight as well. So a good result for him. But we also have Nicholas Pletty. So take whoever you want.
Let's have a chat with Mr. Zach Nuremberger. Zach, that was a hell of a second race, buddy. That finish was one for the record books.
Yeah, I was telling Nick, even telling Steven, I think it was going to be just whoever was in second on that final lap. It's just so hard to defend with that slipstream here. And, I just didn't have that opportunity. So I tried to let him go up the inside and see if I could get a cutback on him. And I just couldn't get the nose clear and had a drag race to the line. I got some side draft on him, but just wasn't enough. But, if I'm going to lose anyone out here, Nick's a great guy and a really good racer. So that was a lot of really fun battle, especially after that disaster of a first race.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. How do you? First race did not go how you wanted really at any point of it. So how do you kind of put yourself into the headspace to then do what you did here in this sprint race, where nailed it start to finish and it absolutely took it down to the line, just 400s between you and Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really just about just hitting that reset button. I mean, you guys all do a lot of racing yourself. Sometimes you get frustrated, then you try and drive the car too hard, and then you make more mistakes, and then you have spins and all that, and just it's just really nice to have a clean slate, just get some laps in clear air, really figure out your braking points and just kind of get in that rhythm. So yeah, I think a lot of it is just calming and hitting that reset and just focusing on what you have to do.
Well, so with that said, though, you had a bad first race, but for the second race with the reverse grid, it put you on in P2 on the outside pole. I mean, that had to give you a little bit of a confidence boost going in.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, first of all, Steve Gabay. I know we got a little bit of an incident, so I'll have to go back and look at that. So, if that's my fault, apologies. But yeah, there was just a lot of beating and banging that first heat. I didn't really see much of anything in that second race, but yeah, just one of those things. I had to come in and get a new front wing. A couple of those guys that got in earlier incidents because that pit window was so tight, they had to make some stops. So I guess just keeping it clean most of the time ended up helping. I don't know. I think just a little bit of luck too, and yeah, it's just I think everyone got beaten, banged up. So it was just kind of whoever rolled the highest number on the dice in that first race.
Well, congratulations on that finish there. Wonderful race in that sprint. Nailed the strategy and went for the opposite of what Nicholas Paletti did, and won it for the B class. And I will also say congratulations on not only making it through here at Monza, but also not earning 3 EOLs in a row. So congratulations on that
I gotta
achievement.
get rid of that Monza curse now. Everyone's making fun of me. But yeah,
But
thanks guys.
fantastic win, and you came in second in the overall standings, and another strong performance here. So it's going to be a good looking forward. Now we have Spa next week, and I just wonder, what are you looking forward to with that? A very different track here than Monza.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of the same through that first sector. Like I was saying, Monza's just even if you're a second ahead, it's so hard to break the slipstreams unless you come through that sector too. It's really only opportunity. You're going to get a lot of that too, at the beginning and the end of the track. But I think a lot more opportunity to, just kind of wash some people out dirty air. And, there's more opportunity to just kind of sneak away like Nick was doing in that first race. So I think we're going to get a lot of that slipstream action and tow and all the stuff that makes it really fun. But, people are going to have to bring their A game for that for sure.
Well, wish you good luck and get to practicing for it because you are a front runner now. So you have a good night there, Zach.
Thank you. Congrats, Nick, as well.
Well, let's go ahead and talk to our overall winner, Nick Paletti. Nick, you got us?
Yeah, I gotcha.
That was a hell of a race. You dominated the first race, and then you took Zach down to the wire in the second. What was going through your mind during all this?
I mean, of course it was Zach. This is 3 races in a row that we've been fighting each other on the sprint in the last lap. So I assume it's gonna be the same the next time we're out. But yeah, it was just trying to time the pass at the right point. I was watching the gap between me and him the whole time, thinking I was gonna come out ahead. I mean, he must have had a great in lap because he got me on that stop when I thought I was going to come out right beside him. But yeah, then it was just fun fighting him, and it was basically whoever timed that last pass to get the run to the finish.
Early in that race, well, I mean, I guess step back a little bit further. You qualified in first. You led every lap of the feature race, so you never even really had to defend your position. So I did have 2 questions. So one, I didn't catch it on the replay, and I wasn't able to go back and get it. What happened at the end of that race? And then 2, what kind of different experience did you have with the sprint, given that now you're dealing with 9 guys ahead of you that you didn't have before?
I mean, the first race, I was just trying to get some attention off of those guys that were having a great battle. But I mean, looking back, I should have taken tires with the gap that I had. It's just fronts didn't lock. I should have blown through the chicane and just burned the runoff or the slowdown. But I tried to keep it in and just over rotated the rear. But luckily, I had that gap. I mean, it was a little sketch, but that gap certainly helped. And then in the second race, I was talking to Paul, and I told him if I can't get around people, like I'm just pitting as soon as I can because I'm gonna lose way too much time. And I was like a second off of my good lap times just sitting there in traffic. So I knew if I could go into the pits as soon as I could, run some clean laps, stay out of traffic, that would be my best shot to actually overtaking people. But yeah, that was kind of the strategy after I lost my ability to fuel save.
Well, that was some first-class racing tonight, Nick. I mean, you absolutely dominated that first race. Even with an 8-second lead after your hiccup, you still managed to just brutalize everybody else. How do you feel about going into Spa?
Not as well. Spas tends to be a track that I struggle with every time we go here in the F3. There's just a few corners I cannot get the entry speed right. So I don't think I'm gonna be dominating in this next one. All the practice races I was kind of mid pack, but at this point we'll just play the points game and wait for a track that I'll be a little bit better in.
Well, congratulations on yet another win. That is now 5 of 6 heat wins on the season. So certainly coming out hot, coming out with a big lead, and we look forward to hearing from you again in the future, potentially, maybe even next race at Spa.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I just want to give a shout out to our missing commentator tonight, Aaron, who's currently still sitting in the hospital. We miss you, bud, and hoping he'll be able to get home soon and let his son get a chance on the sim rig and on the broadcast. But
yeah.
Thank you guys so much for the broadcast.
Thank you. Have a good night, Nick. And then Stephen Thompson is up. He's up there in the other chain. He's ready for an interview, though. I just pinged him, making sure he was aware, and he's our overall winner for the B class.
All right. Mr. Thompson, you got us in the booth?
I do.
So you had a great race today. You won B overall in the first race, and then in the second race, you still managed to come in third. We think you took the points total overall, if I'm mistaken. Is that not right?
I think so. I will have to see how safety points hash out because I know Zach and I had a horrible first race. We both racked up X's from the first couple lap incidents. But other than that, yeah, we both had similar pace. I think it just depended on the pit stop cycle. He was in clean air a lot more, and just those extra few positions off the start really changed the whole pace of the race.
The race, you had a lot of strong pace up now. You were one of the couple guys able to put it into that mid to low 44 range. What were you feeling as far as like through the stint, like especially like in that sprint race through those 19 laps? What kind of wear were you experiencing, and how bad was it getting?
The car's got a lot of downforce, so I was kind of figuring once we got the tires warmed up, it would be better. But then once the car got a little bit loose and light, I kept hitting those curbs in Ascari, and it felt like it was giving me aero damage, but it probably didn't in the end. But when you got the tires hot, it's actually even worse in the feature race. The longer the race, the tires got hot, and you actually saw new tires in the second part of the stint come through, just because they had a little bit more grip through Ascari and maximizing that speed on the straight. Fuel wise, I don't know what happened. I screwed myself twice where I had to save like a tenth of a gallon or a tenth of a lap to try to go on auto fuel. So I was coasting, and if I lost the draft of whoever was in front of me, I kind of just had to back down and maintain the gap behind.
So in 2 weeks' time, we got Spa coming up. How do you feel about going there? How do you feel your chances are going in there?
Assuming we have 19 starters, I'm putting the over under at 8.5 DQs. Because if it's not going to be from a red flag on the first lap, it's probably going to be from Pouillon or all the windy bits through the bottom of the hill. And I know we're not looking forward to another turn one aerial incident.
Yeah, turn one kept everybody entertained tonight. I tell you what.
Yeah, I was going to say if there weren't the red flags, it would have been pretty easy to make up some positions, just keeping your nose straight. But first one, we had a Chicago Street Circuit style backup from two guys going to no miss at the first chicane neck code.
Well, congratulations on that B-class victory today, both in the feature race and the overall. Came in here in fourth overall in the overall points and should be in third place coming out tonight. So congratulations on that momentum, and we wish you luck in a couple weeks.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you around.
Have a good night, Steven. All right, so just now able to kind of take a breath after that incredible first and second race that we had there. So, again, thank you for filling in there, Paul. Maybe we'll have Aaron back for the next race, ideally, and now with a new kid on the way. So if you're here for the E4A as well, we'll have that next week. And if you're here for O4A, we'll see you in a couple weeks at Spa. So, everyone, have a good night.